We'll be live now, actually. We'll be live now. It's just not come up yet. I can't see it yet. I'll just mute it so I can see the comments if anyone wishes to comment.
So running with what you were saying last time, Andy, why don't we produce our own caseman file?
Yeah, and that's basically, that is what we tried to do, or what we was doing with the resolver.
Yeah.
Because it creates a case file for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and it keeps it record. It's all there for you. You just keep it on it. So I mean, why not use resolver for that purpose then?
Yeah.
You know, because it would be beneficial for everyone. I mean, I've used it, although we tried to use it with Karen, but for some reason they stopped taking her emails. They wouldn't allow her to upload her stuff on there. But I don't know why. It worked with mine because I did it with John Patterson's.
Yeah.
No.
We could always set up an equivalent WordPress site which is free. Just have the documents on there, couldn't we? Because then at least people can access previous stuff and their own case and so on. That'd be a good place to put in, because at the moment Stephen and others are downloading onto the forum that we're all on, and it's getting overloaded with paperwork and stuff. Better to have the resource online somewhere where everybody can access it.
Yeah.
We could create our own crime reference numbers, couldn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, case numbers and so on. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about enforcement? Do we know how we could enforce it, or can't we?
Idea. It's a good idea. I think we should get some.
Well, again, because that would also include we could start doing that if we did do this scenario with building that part, whereas we can now employ private detectives as well as enforcement. You know, giving the bailiffs in the sense of having our own collectors. You know.
I like the idea of using their own civil courts to do it myself.
But yeah, you just get the order from them. Then you've got the order to give to your own collectors and your own private detective to go and source their estates, so to say, so that you can go and collect.
I read somewhere that you could use, once you get the decision rubber stamped by the High Court, that you've got access to their own bailiffs. You can use their bailiffs as well.
Would you want to?
They don't have any bailiffs anymore. There are no court bailiffs.
Sheriffs.
There's no such thing as a court bailiff anymore. None of the courts have them. CDER is the bailiff group that the high courts use.
They're the private company.
They're all private, yeah. So we get, just to reiterate what we said last time about the, we could do it on Resolver, or we could do it on a WordPress or some other thing that we come up with. Somebody fills in the complaint as if they're doing a report or something to the police, and then we consider it. So, you know, the evidence has got to be included with that, not just verbally, because that's hearsay, but something written. And then it goes to the jury for consideration for, say, 28 days. And then we hold a jury hearing on that, you know, like a normal court would.
Yeah.
And then from that, the decision's made by the jury. And then a month later, the jury hands down the decision.
Yeah.
So for hard evidence, we could do this affidavit thing, couldn't we?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think we insist on it because it's the only thing that's a fact of law. So.
Yeah.
And that gives us what we have then is a pipeline. It means that people will know where they are in the queue, how long it will take them to get to the front of the queue, and you know how long it will take for a decision and enforcement and so on.
Yeah. Barry, Baz, on the point of the enforcement, can you just reiterate what you mentioned about enforcing it? Because you're saying there's no sheriffs or no bailiffs anymore. They're using private company. So if we're going to enforce some of these orders, who are the bailiffs that we're going to use to enforce it? Like the CCJ you were saying about.
Yeah, we're going to fight fire with fire, basically, George.
Say that again?
We're going to fight fire with fire.
Okay. So for instance.
So Andy and I were talking about this afternoon. So maybe, you know, let's say you have a case against the police for, I don't know, kicking your door in. Then we take the case civilly. So we take a civil case with all the evidence, which nobody can aver.
Right.
You get a judgment, whether it's a county court or a higher court, wherever, or even a magistrate's court. And
Right.
then we can enforce that either with our own company that we employ or a company that we take on with a contract,
Just like they do.
same as they do. So I've got a case at the moment for a client who's got, she nearly lost her flat because the DWP suspended her benefits payments. So I took a case in the Brighton County Court. We won the case for £5,000 damages. The bailiffs that the court employed were up in Wolverhampton because the local DWP office was there. And it turned out that the DWP office was running from a PO box. So the bailiffs couldn't enact the order.
So sorry, let me just get this right. So
Yep.
I know of the DWP office in Wolverhampton. So you're saying the registered address they had was a PO box.
Yes.
So which means for the bailiff to enforce the order, the judgment you want, they couldn't enforce it.
That's right. So what's happened now is we're going back to the court. I'm doubling the claim and we're going back to Caxton House in London, to the head of the DWP.
Yes.
But what will happen is the court bailiffs, the company they employ, will do it for us.
But I'm a little bit puzzled about that one where you said the bailiff. I mean, just bear with me a little. You said the bailiffs, their own bailiffs, will enforce the order for us. I don't see how they're going to get their bailiffs to act to enforce an order against themselves.
It's not. No, the bailiffs aren't acting against the court, are they? They're acting against the DWP.
Right. So with the DWP now, you're enforcing the order, but it was the address. Okay, I got you.
They won't take it. They won't do that.
We happen to be using.
They won't do that. Who said that?
David.
David, why won't they do that?
Conflict of interest.
It's not though, David, because it's a separate company again, against a separate company by a separate company.
The only way that they wouldn't do that is because it's the same Freemasons that say it's the same group of Freemasons. However, this is why. This is another point. I mean, okay, let's go off all the negatives first. Then they're not going to do all this, but this is the reason why I always stated that ultimately what we require is our own private detectives and our own debt collectors group. Which to do that, you've got to establish that.
You've got to have the funds to do that.
Yeah, you've got to have the funds to do that, to create that. So, yeah. So basically, I mean, what we were saying on this process of what we were looking at doing, by taking them through their own court system, by creating these documents on the claims that we're having,
Right.
for the people that we're getting the claims, we'll take a remission out of that, putting it into a pot. That pot then is going to establish at a later date these things, i.e. private detectives and whatever to pay for these, but also at the same time for the people that are coming to us that have got a claim but that can't afford the fees of the courts to take these things, we can also take that out of the pot too. So that's down the line, obviously. That's down the line. But I mean, I don't see why anyone would disagree with that, you know.
No, I mean, to be honest with you, that sounds more valid than Bad's point. I can see that because I have an issue with them using their own people to enforce it through their own. As you said, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying they won't do it, but I have a grave doubts about whether we can get actually effective enforcement. I think what you said makes sense. More practical, it's more you've got control as such once you get the judgment against them or the order. So I can see that, but you're saying now it's going to come from the pot. So are people going to come to us who hasn't got the money to take on this thing that can come from the pot? But we then have to look how we can create this 100 grand pot of money to create this situation with the private detectives. Yeah, I think that's more.
The other thing is this, because we're saying that they're not going to do this, right? Yeah. Well, the other thing is this: they're providing a service. If they provide a service, you come with the qualifications for them to provide that service, and they reject you, then they've got to reject you for a certain reason. If they're rejecting you for a certain reason because it's a conflict of interest, in other words, they're not doing it because, you know, that's it. I'm sure there's going to be some form of being able to put a claim against them. Yeah, because that's choosing who they're going to go. Not, you know, if you're providing a service, you can't say, sorry, mate, no, I don't want you in this shop, you know, because that's being prejudiced. That's a prejudice claim against them. So you can put a claim against them for not doing what they putting their duty out to do. If their debt collector's there to go out there to do, you're not going to say, I'm not going to do that because it's my mate. I'm not going to collect on that because it's my mate. It's a duty. it's a duty you're doing that you shouldn't be picking that duty because it's, you know, that's a conflict of interest. So if you've got that conflict, you can't be doing that job. You can't produce that. You can't be doing that job. So stand down. You've got to come off that job. Just a thought in my head.
Mm, mm,
You know, they refuse. If you give, it's like going into a shop and like, you know, wanting to buy a packet of fags and they're saying, no, I'm not selling them you. You know, there's no difference, is it really? You know, they're providing a service to go and collect money. You got all the correct paperwork from the court. There's been a sealed order from the court to say that it's, you know, it's all done, job done, it's all sealed. They can now go and collect it. And if they refuse to collect it, that's just no difference to me than saying, no, I'm not selling you this packet of fags.
Although a shopkeeper has more right to stop you than a court does.
Yeah, exactly.
What about this
So-
issue? Somebody was talking about promissory notes. Can we find a way of finding out how we can enforce those or force people to accept them? Because that will take away all of the issue of even filing a case, really. I mean, we could do the case and then
Well, not
decide
really,
that
does it?
we're going to issue
Because it
ourselves.
doesn't stop these people from what they're. I mean, this is the thing. You're not hurting the ones that. I mean, I don't know. It depends on what the cases are, but I promise you, it's not going to answer all the other cases like knocking policemen on the door. I don't see as a promissory note it's going to stop the policemen, you know, stopping these people doing what they're doing. So, you know, promissory notes for other things like,
You can enforce the promissory note with the Bills of Exchange Act anyway. It's perfectly easy to enforce them now. If you're not getting your promissory notes honoured, then let me know. I can help you sort it out.
Okay.
Only trouble is you admit liability that way, don't you? That's the one drawback, isn't it? With a promissory note, you admit the liability.
Yeah, you're contracting with them. Yeah.
got some there. I'll just answer some points that some Mandy's put out. I thought in a court, you filled your own paperwork and a schedule of fees due by way of a lien and used habeas corpus. Mandy, that doesn't. Does that make sense to you, Beth?
There's three issues there. They're completely separate. Habeas corpus is a completely different argument. I mean, we were talking the other way around the other day. So Neela was talking about the intention to do wrong. So that's the mens rea. The Latin is the intention to do wrong. And most of the things that most of us have been caught for or accused of, there's no intention to do any wrong. So, you know, and that's pure law, that's common law, which is where their courts fall down all the time. You know, if you speed on the motorway or you, I don't know, park on double yellow lines, you've caused no harm to anybody. There's no intention to do any wrong. And it shouldn't be enforceable under common law, but of course they've corrupted it all. But to go on about habeas corpus and then to bring in about promissory notes and then to mention about the issuing of documents. I mean, most people don't understand. You can issue your own summons to a court. You can go to the county court or the magistrate's court and issue a summons on anybody. It's exactly what the councils do about council tax. Every one of us can do the same. Since 2008, you can issue a summons to a court. So this is where we use their methods against them.
So that's a good point with the council tax. So the council go along to the local county court or magistrate court and issue a summon for.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They print them out themselves.
The council and the magistrates' court's the same thing these days.
The councils own 20% of the magistrates' court since the 2008 under the 1992 Government Finance Act. So they don't rent the room; they own the bloody room.
It's all nice and cosy.
They rent the judges. They just rent the judges and the staff.
The actors, the actors.
They just rent the actors for the show.
So I mean, my local council switched tactics. So my council issued a summons to me. I trotted along to the county court, and the county court said, "No, the summons isn't for here. You've got to go down to an office in the council." So they're not even bothering with the theatre anymore. They're just saying, "Traipse down to a room, and we'll do it there."
Then it was touch and go whether they let you in.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
That's true.
So we can use that for our own advantage. You can go down to the court and you can issue a summons against the council, if you like, over the council tax. And the first thing you ask for is a contract, and the second one is evidence that you're the man that they want, the person that they're pursuing, and so on. So, you know, we can do the same thing to them as they're doing to us. and they have no defence against it.
There's another good point here that's been made on the questions here is like, have insurance companies got a big part to play in this? Don't they all have to have public liability? And so, if so, not go for the insurance companies themselves, because it's the insurance companies themselves that are going to be paying us out.
They're all corrupt.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. You've got to remember that applies to us, the plebs. It doesn't apply to them.
Yeah.
You know, any of us that have tried to claim on an insurance claim know that the system's set up against us. All of the courts have to be insured public liability, all of the councils, but that's irrelevant when it comes to us because we can't claim.
Yeah.
The slave can't sue the master, can he?
So the court building itself, Baz, just to confirm, has to have public liability insurance for the people who attend the court.
Yeah, by
They
law.
have to have that.
Yeah.
By law.
Yeah.
It'd be like a light switch for them. They turn it on and off as they want.
Yeah.
Getting it off them, getting the actual insurance company, the insurance details off them is a different ballgame. Yeah.
Well, technically they have to show it publicly, and technically if you request it, they have to show you a copy of it.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, I mean that is the correct way, because that would be the perfect outcome, because
Yeah.
then they all become unbondable. You know, they won't be bondable, so that they're struck off, and no insurance company will insure them, so therefore they can't operate in the public. So that would be, you know, in the, you know, that would be the correct way of going around it. But like
Westminster Court, they're turning over £500 million a week. They're not going to be too fussy about the insurance company, are they?
Yeah, I think it's irrelevant. It's a dead end because there's nothing we can enforce there.
Yeah.
I'll be damned if I could ever claim against Westminster or a county court. It won't be possible because there's too many elements of the system set up against us.
Yeah. You're in their cartel.
The only time you might get that is if there's water on the floor and you slip and fall or something. You know, that's about as far as you'll get.
Yeah.
You know, anything else, I don't think so.
Yeah, because they're never going to admit that they've done any wrong, full stop.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. They can't, can they?
Specifically Westminster and the City of London, because it's offshore. You know, none of the jurisdictions that we've all grown up to understand actually apply there.
So what about issuing liens then against their properties and stuff, and try and block them that
Again,
way?
it's a nice idea, but unless you've got a bunch of thugs that can enforce the lien, you're going nowhere. It's about enforcement again, isn't it?
Here's another question.
Doesn't it stop them getting loans and things and be able to sell their property?
Sorry, you're breaking up a bit there.
And so doesn't it stop them, you know, selling their property and stop them, you know, getting loans and stuff if they've got a lien on their property?
You're talking about registered at the land registry, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've got to get a judgment for that.
Can't you do it yourself? I thought there was a process of sending out 3 different claims.
The land registry is corrupt.
Yeah, remember the land registry is separate again, and look who runs it, and look who's paying it. So yeah, these ideas are fine. The perfected lien and so on. I've got a perfected lien of 150 million on the Westminster Court myself. But how the hell do I enforce it?
They're still operating. They're still functioning as normal.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And they'll continue to do so until our gang is bigger than their gang.
Yeah. Here's another question for the table. Right? If you have claimed that you're not a person but are still in usury of a government issued ID card, driving license, national insurance payments, bank accounts, then how can you claim you're not a person that is in usury of the system?
You can jump over the fence and jump back again, can't you?
These aren't mutually exclusive terms, are they? I contract with my car and I register it and I pay tax and I pay insurance because I choose to do that, because it's easier than being stopped every 600 yards by police, because none of those things come up on the computer. I choose to do that, but I choose not to be the person they write to when they want to talk to me about anything else. You can put your foot in whatever domain you like. I play court cases in the common law and in their domain, and I flip around as much as I want. There's nothing they can do.
But that's what they do to us. They chop and change from one to the other. Well, we're entitled to do exactly the same, are we not?
They're not mutually exclusive terms. So just because you're a person with your, I don't know, car insurance and whatever, doesn't mean you're a person when it comes to council tax or anything you choose not to react with.
Yeah.
These are fixed dates, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I mean on the lien process, yeah. I mean, because obviously we're talking about the fiat because the liens are going to go against the fiat. What about putting the liens in as in, you know, something factual like gold or silver, or even possibly and Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's got that. It's got a back something. It's backed by.
It can be in yellow puppy dogs, but how the hell are you going to collect or enforce? And this is always going to be the problem with us, the way we are at the moment.
Yeah.
And what happens when they pay with the promissory notes? If you were ever to be successful and they said, all right, we'll put our hands up, we'll pay you with a promissory note.
Pay it into your bank. Pay it into your bank straight away.
Do you think they clear it?
Well, if they don't, then the court is in contempt of court, isn't it? Or whoever's paid you is in contempt. You know, the Bills of Exchange Act is a much stronger tool than you think.
Yeah. Interesting point, though.
It was a bit like when shops were refusing to take cash during the COVID scandemic. You know, they don't have the right to refuse cash. It's the currency of the realm. They don't have the right to stop receiving. You know, they're Bills of Exchange.
The other thing is like bouncing a check, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like having a check bounced on you, isn't it? You know, this back up the ball's back in their court.
Yeah, it's unpaid then, isn't it? So they committed fraud.
Then we go back to I don't wish to sell you a packet of cigarettes, or
Well, no,
I don't wish to sell you an alcoholic drink. What are you going to do?
You would go into the fact that, you know, credit the account, then credit the bank account. Don't send me the promissory. Put it into the account. Let me see the digits in the account first.
There's no money involved in any of that. Remember, it's just digits. It's not.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Till you go to draw it out, of course.
Well, if the digits are there, you can draw it out, can't you? In whatever fiat you choose.
Yeah, but I think but David's point makes, I can see, I'm just trying to follow the logic of this enforcement, and they control the banks, they control the clearing system. So I can see what David's saying. They don't have to. They could put all the reason why Bank of New York could not pay NatWest Bank because, example, the bank for Westminster is an offshore bank operated in Jersey, and for instance, you've put an order against Westminster, for argument, and say for council tax. You've won that through the system, the court system. Now, your bank, Baz, is requesting that money, NatWest, from the Bank of New York, which acts for the play. So they don't have. They will. I'm just trying to think, how on earth are we going to enforce that? Because I'm just sort of looking at both points of view.
You don't have to worry about that. It's fiat currency. It's the same as the £50 note or £10 note in your pocket. You're not worried about where that's justified or where it comes from, because it's the face value of the thing that you've got, whether it's a promissory note or a £10 note, same thing.
So the point I hear what they're saying, they don't have to pay that, although they're in contempt of that court order, because you won the case, you've actually put the enforcement order, and they now, the point of now is to pay out, to enforce the order, so they pay. So NatWest Bank is make the request on your behalf for the £50,000 or whatever it is. The bank acting for the plaintiff aren't exactly going to have to pay that money. I just can see them putting so many obstacles there because they control all the system, the whatever. So what else? I'm just trying to think, what else objection would they have?
If you go online and look at any company, and that includes the police and the courts and so on and the councils, on their main website, on their statement of fact about their company, you'll see that they are required to obey the Bills of Exchange Act and honour promissory note. It actually says that on all of them, every one of them. So if necessary, you just enforce their own statements, their mission statement to them.
Hi, Jason.
All right, Andrew.
How you doing, mate? It's
Yeah,
Jason.
great.
Stand up. This is this is a qualified with the quantum grammar. In other words, the correct sentence structure communication parse syntax grammar. This is a postmaster or the postmaster general of the world, according to the post office that's presented in the documents to prove it. So this is Jason, who's disqualified Russell J. Gould, according to the paperwork he's got. And obviously he goes about doing what we're doing as well, but he goes about it the federal for the postal ways of going things like so. You know, it'd be very interesting to hear another side of the story on how how they go about it.
Yeah, I was actually the one who asked you the question about being in usury of a system and claiming two different jurisdictions, but having your foot in the same part of the ocean. Like it doesn't make any sense, the response, because you can't be in usury of a system and also be outside of that system. It doesn't make any sense.
Why not?
Because you're in usury of a system.
And if you're not,
if you get put in jail and you get put in the docking section, and then you are in usury of their food supplies, but say you refuse to be registered into court, registered into a jail, and then you go and use the toilets or use the food or anything at all, you're in usury of the jail system. So you're officially docking yourself, regardless of the volition of what you claim. It doesn't make a blind bit of difference because you're dealing with a fictional court. It's all fiction. So so when somebody a minute ago asked about the liens don't, I have a £53 million lien against whatever. It doesn't make a blind bit of difference. They won't listen to you because the claims that you put forward are wrote in fiction anyway. And the synonyms of fiction are lies, untruth, concoctions, fibs, and storytelling. The only way to defeat it and get factual and actually make things work is by correcting under correct sentence structure. So you are you're issuing claims in a mathematical way where it's certified universally. It's the only way to beat the court system or to beat any claim. And on the 7th of June, I disqualified the entire legal system over an hour and a half with my local post office. So the legal system as a whole doesn't even exist now. The only thing that exists is the quantum communication under contract. And a large part of the world actually knows that now. I actually run a website at the Blue Thumb Club without mentioning anything.
I disagree with what you're saying.
Pardon?
Oh, sorry, I disagree with what you're saying. I don't think the two situations are mutually exclusive of each other. You can choose to go into court, or you can choose to stay outside the court. It's not mutually exclusive, are they?
They're different, because at the end of the day, if I issue a claim against you and give you 14 days under postal law, which is a court ruling called Adams v. Lindsell, under the acceptance rule, and my claim is that you owe me £500, if after 14 days you can't prove that claim wrong, you owe me £500 because the claim's going to be unrebutted.
Now you're putting a time limit on it that I wouldn't agree to in the first place. So you're out
the time limit,
that one, aren't you?
At the end of the day, you need to understand, there is three main sectors. There's Washington, D.C., which is the post office. Then you have the Vatican, which controls the timelines for the financial institution in London. So regardless of whatever, the timelines are always in place anyway. And this is postal.
No, I don't agree with that either.
It don't matter if you don't agree with it, because it's a complete fact. And I think
you're manipulating the situation there, really, to suit your own point of view. I don't agree with.
Everyone's talking about the Bills of Exchange Act 1882. If you issue a promissory note,
that's the first thing you've got right.
If you issue a promissory note without a timeline, they may accept that or not accept that 20 years down the line. Timelines are important for the conveyance of post. That's why you get international delays for 21 to 30 something days. There is always timelines involved within contract law, and everything is contract and everything is shipping. So you to tell me that you don't agree with the timeline. I'm manipulating timelines. Timelines have been set in stone by the Vatican 2,500 years ago.
So you say you cancelled the legal system. I don't
The
know
entire legal system, yeah, on the 7th of June.
Do they know? Have they
Yeah,
realised?
they do. Yeah, and that was cancelled by a manoeuvre through the FCA through to the Treasury Department, and this is all filed and stamped, and it's actually out there that you can go and look at.
So you played their game to exclude yourself from it.
After that was done, I then issued a claim against Alexandra Mary Windsor under the Postal Act of 1807, Section 33. Currently, the claim is still unrebutted, and I own every bond, security, and activity under the postal treaties, which govern the entire world at the Universal Postal Union in Switzerland,
Okay.
as Commander-in-Chief and Chief Postmaster General.
Great. Can you lend me a couple of £1 billion to next Wednesday fortnight?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
Interesting
this
theory.
all comes down. This it still all comes down to enforcement.
Enforcement.
I mean, because the courts were all done anyway in 2008.
Well, it doesn't come down to enforcement, because enforce, EN is a prefix, which means
Okay,
no, that
enforcement,
modifies
yeah.
the word force.
Yeah.
So there's no force involved. What it comes down to is who has the authority and presenting authority in a claim of correct sentence structure. And that's when you get somewhere.
Jason, sorry, George here. George Carter. I'm just trying to follow your line of argument. I do accept some of what you're saying. Why does it not come to enforcement? Because we're talking about payout of winning your case. We're talking about payout for the victim. But you're saying enforcement don't come into it. Is that what you're saying?
So if you use the word enforce, EN is a prefix, which means no, and it modifies the word force, which is a noun fact. So you're basically, if you use the word enforce, you're saying there's no force involved. So that's prefix modification of a fact, which is fraud, and it's fiction. And the synonyms of fiction, as established, is lies, untruths, concoctions, and fibs. And every time you say, well, I want to enforce a summoned, you're saying there's no force summoning a dead, because a summoning is cursive. You're summoning a curse. So you're playing with a dead, which is necromancer. You can't do this. So no wonder so what it is when you try and do that with a judge who knows what correct sentence structure is, he's looking at you and thinking, this person, and this is just generally speaking, not aimed at anyone. The judge is thinking this guy is deaf, dumb, stupid, and blind, because because this person doesn't understand the words that he's speaking of. Where I do, okay. Where this what the judge will think, where I do, this person's telling me he has no force and he's trying to summon something with no force. So whereas you twist it around and you go, for the authority of the claim is with this document of this now time, because there's no past or future, there's only now in existence, of this with this, and then by this authority. And then you have a mathematically correct sentence claim to issue into a court or serve into a court, but you serve it with a clerk, not no one else, the clerk, because the clerk is the judge.
So yeah, going back to your point there, Jason, just bear with me a little if I'm a bit ignorant about some of these things, what you're saying. All of us have been victim, or most of us have been victim of police, the legal system, fraud, me, for instance.
Yeah, everyone.
So we're talking about enforcement. You're saying, how are we doing it? Correct me if I'm wrong. How are we doing it to get these liens, these whatever you call it, to get them enforced? We're doing it wrong, yeah?
That's correct. That's correct.
The point. Well, let me just clarify more of what Jason's talking about. Basically, Jason, what he's saying, just like David Windmiller. What David Windmiller did was he exposed the bastardization of the language. Right? He exposed the bastardized language, and therefore, when we're speaking with words that we're not understanding. It's all babble only. It's all babble. So what David Windmiller did was he removed the poison prefixes, meaning anything like beginning with DE. Anything beginning with DE means no. Anything with RE means no. So all these words, en, ex, all these words, yeah, actually don't say what you think they mean. So when you actually say these words into a judge, this is what he's trying to say here, yeah. So this is what we're trying to get at here.
Yeah.
The courts do understand that language, is what he's saying. They're all under that language because the flag itself, yeah, took the jurisdiction of the Wellington court. That flag now took the language into those courts. So those courts now have to operate inside that language. So that's factual language. Now you remember what all the courts, they will never hear a fact, or a fact will never be heard or tried in a court of law.
And what we do is mathematically certified. So if you go into a courtroom with a document contract claim under the Title IV flag, which is better known as the United States of America's flag, its real name is the Title IV. If you go into that with a mathematically certified document contract claim, and the maths certify it, because 2 + 2 = 4 universally wherever you are in the world under whatever language. So so no judge can say you're wrong, because in the eyes of the court, no law or fact can be tried in a courtroom. So once you start presenting, so say zero is fiction, you have nothing, it's a lie, you start with nothing. Doesn't matter how many times you want to say, I have this fact, and this is a fact, this is a fact, and yeah, it may be a fact in the eyes of everyone here, or in the eyes of 1 billion people, it may be a fact, but it doesn't matter, because 0 times any number is still 0. So that's why you always end up with nothing or no win. So you start off with a fact, you'll always end up 1 + 1 is 2, or 2 + 2 = 4. These are facts mathematically certified that this is how you beat them by math. Not can anybody tell me, has anybody ever gone to war over a maths problem? No one in the history of mankind has ever gone to war over a maths problem. And that's the power of maths. You can go to quantum levels, or you can bring it right back down to biological levels, and it's incredible. But there's stuff tied to that. That's what I'm saying. Then it's timelines. So it's 7, 14, 21, 48 days. This is trust law. So you can go and look this up. Seriously, this is how you operate. And if they get to the end of 14 days, it's say with a promissory note, my system, what I do now, I get a random person come through the other day and said, I owe £8,000 to HMRC, and he knew a bit about David, and I said, perfect. So you already know about what I do, and you already have you have a kind of an idea of what you do, of what we do. So fill in the document and get on the phone to him. When you're on the phone to him, ask for the amount to be confirmed in full, so you can present payment on the day they accept it for a full presentment of payment. Now, if they don't, and it's in line, and this is why fact and fiction can work at the same time, right? So imagine a train, 2 train tracks, yeah? One rail is fiction and one is fact, and the carriage will deliver the document to where it needs to be docked at the same time. So fact and fiction will effectively be docked at the same time, in time. This is what I do. So then I said, get the value confirmed, and then on the phone say, I accept this value, and now I'm making you the offer. But obviously this is how it works: offer, consideration, and acceptance. After those 14 days of the consideration period, they have every right to not accept your promissory note, right, as a company. But if they don't accept that promissory note, and this is fiction legislation, under Section 43 of the Bills of Exchange Act, the consequences, the dishonour by non-acceptance, no further presentment for payments necessary. That's legislation. What a corporation, because that's who you're talking to. You're not talking to a human, you're talking to a corporate identity. They need to adhere to that legislation. And when they don't, that's when claims of non-acceptance from the company start coming in by a human being. That's when the damage claim transfers from fiction to fact, because then the claims are damaging the human. Then the claims are damaging the person.
We started off by saying you couldn't mix the fact and the fiction, and then halfway through your very clever point of view, I'll give you that, you've changed to the fact that you can move between fact and fiction. So either you can.
The
or
only
you
way, the
can't.
only way fact and fiction can operate is when you box the fiction, because
So it
anything
can work. So it can work.
anything boxed you can't see or hear, because it can't be seen, so it can't be
But
considered.
if it's boxed, it can work.
If it's boxed and you're trying to speak, if you're stood in a dock trying to speak to a judge, you're in an enclosed area. So a judge, and you, if a judge asks you what's your name and you reply, well, unfortunately, like that person, whoever's answered that is deaf, dumb, and stupid, because anything inside a box can't be seen and can't be seen, can't be heard, and can't be considered, because it's in an enclosed area with its own terms and conditions and its own volition. So the fiction side of things, legislation can be put in a document, enclosed, and then the contract of it can be on the outside of that box. Because to me, that box is not even on that paper.
The four corner rule on your credit card agreement or your mortgage, the box that you sign on the bottom right hand side.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And everything that everybody interacts with financially. Four corner rule.
But you put a stamp on it and autograph your name from it, you've took jurisdiction. And the word jurisdiction only means opinion. So when the court says we've took jurisdiction, all they've done is took their opinion. That's all they've done. But an opinion's not a fact. An opinion's a statement. Is a statement of an event.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So can't we use you to enforce our liens and things then?
Yep.
Of course you can. Of course you can.
If you're the postmaster.
Chief Postmaster General.
Yeah.
I'm also Commander-in-Chief at the United Nations, in charge of the BICES-X system.
The by what system, sorry?
BICES-X is a system that about 40 nations have control of in a military position, where they share information across the planet. You have planes. Yes, it's a massive system.
Okay. I just haven't heard of it before.
How many judges we've got in the UK?
Judges.
Postal judges, how many do we have in the UK?
Bloody hell. Working close by me, there's about 20 at the moment who work close to me.
20.
Yeah.
And who's the trainer in the UK?
Well, it started off for me until I trained them up, and they're spot on now.
So who actually trained you?
I'm self-taught by David Wynn-Miller, the founder.
Do you know Mark Christopher?
Yes. Don't give him don't give him any 1 pence, don't give him nothing. He doesn't understand what he's doing.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought he was trained by David Wayne Miller himself.
Yeah, he was.
See, that's the perception most people have, because they've seen him on videos with David. But when he's you just go to his YouTube channel and you see everything that he puts on his pictures, and everything will be italicized, meaning removed from the page. There's no order of the order of operations of the sentence structure is with the by the. You look at his order of operations, they're out. There's no order of operations, so there's no math claims. You take it. So what he's doing basically is like, he's got a block of gold, he's removing a molecule away and still trying to claim that it's gold. And he's earning a lot of money off it. And I've called him out multiple times on YouTube. I've had all my comments blocked. My YouTube channel has been blocked by him. I've called him out on LinkedIn. And the Vietnamese person he works closely with, and never, not once has he replied. He's read my messages, but he won't get back to me, because he knows I've been asking, come on. I want to see your navigational numbers. I want to see your Universal Postal Union's identification numbers. If you're claiming those positions as a global chief postmaster general or whatever he's trying to claim he is, he'll have certain other identification numbers which he'll be able to show me through certain NATO positions. And like, I just want to show him up basically, because he's an idiot.
Okay, I'll leave that one there then.
Yeah. So Baz, what we were saying, Baz, your question to Jason was, yes, we most of us victims have had issues or serious issues and reservations sometimes regarding the enforcing these claims. And we spoke about, I'm not sure if it's you that said it, Baz, that I believe the last one's known of, a county court judgment was issued, a CCJ was issued against, I think it's Liverpool or Havering Council, and they paid it. A CCJ was issued against the council. I'm not sure who told me that only the past week, but it actually is one that's there on the net, and they paid it. So we've always problems as individual victims. How do we enforce this? Because as Andy said, their problem is not naming and shaming them, it's their pockets, their money. So how do we force? Yeah, so you've appeared to come up with ideas or a method where we can enforce it. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's what we're saying. Yeah, that's what Jason's saying.
and I'm listening to what Jason's saying, and there's a method there where we can enforce it further,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about using the word enforce.
Well, I'm using that. But
This is, I mean,
for want of a better word,
this is a big part of all this, because I mean,
Yeah.
this is why because I mean, I love the language because it's correct, and being correct means the most powerful of everything. The point is to get people to understand the fact about what the language is very confusing, because it's what's been gone on to us all, and it took me ages to get it into my head. Yeah, so I don't expect you to understand a lot of what Jason's saying. Yeah. But what you've got to understand is once you do see it clearly, and when you do start seeing the facts, you can see all the rest is, you can see how you've been poisoning yourself by your own words, by what you're saying. And what he is saying is, but the thing is, the other thing is what, you know, this is the other side to it, because in these courts, Barry is we are getting the results, and they are yielding to what's being stated, but ultimately, they're all criminals anyway, and it's just certain people that have got them out in their own criminal activities with their own criminal. So we just use their own made up laws against them, whereas Jason would just disqualify them because of the language. The language itself just disqualifies the whole lot.
Most of the people what work in them institutions, they haven't got a clue about what to do and what language they're speaking anyway. I think a good part of it would be to educate these people who are working in these positions. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, but Jason says to me that the judges understand quantum, judges understand correct sentence, switch communication, parsing, syntax, grammar. Is that the case that all judges understand this, Jason?
Yeah, that's correct. And the reason why is because the first thing that's established in a courtroom is that, does this person have knowledge of what we speak of, like the language? So if you're in a Chinese court, if you're facing criminal proceedings or whatnot, then they have to be able to communicate. So communication is the key, the first very principle. So if somebody comes forward with a language of correct sentence structure, then every judge needs to be aware of that, and they have been for years and years and years, like way before even I was born, when David was getting into all this. And so yeah,
because it's all a part of the deception. I mean, because it's all by language of deception now, the deceivers of language. Go on, Murray.
I'm really interested in this. I'm seeing where it can tie in very closely with what we've been talking about. I was wondering if Jason wouldn't do a tutorial for us on Friday. Yeah, give us more parcels of information, if you like, if that's all right.
I've been speaking with Jason before about this, and we was talking about bringing in a common law side, but in the quantum. Yeah. Remember we was talking about the full colon. So I mean, I won't go into, but basically there isn't anything there. It's there because there is. The point is, as the Baron David Wall pointed out, there is no law. There is no common law. Yeah. However, until it can be established as a fact and everybody can agree to it, because it's going to be for everybody, you know, this is the whole point about it, because you've got maritime's taken over the planet. You know, they've turned the land into land, and it's all down to that maritime law. But we wanted the law, the land law, because we're all the land. We are the land, although we're all water too. But there's that jurisdiction too, and the same with equity too. So tying all that into making one form that we can all everybody's going to agree, because it's going to be again, it's right now there's never been a better time, because right now it is a geometrical level playing field. All contracts therefore have been cancelled by the language, so therefore now is the time. But the problem that until we've got enough lawyers out there that can speak correct sentence communication, parsing, syntax, grammar, and bring people in, let them tell them, and then put it down as the fact on the paper for them to bring it forth to these things. That, you know, that was the issue. You know, so ultimately, at the end of the day, the language, that the quantum language would just purely be contract language, because you would never be talking in it. You wouldn't have a conversation in it.
Oh, that's what it is anyway. That's what it is. It's contract.
Just purely contract language.
Yeah.
Math. It's just math. It's a math language. It says what it means what it says, and can't be defeated. Your volition is on the paper. You don't even need the ID test.
I put the language a few months ago, like I done a sentence structure, put it into a cipher, just an online cipher to see what kind of results I would get back, and it went 0. When it won't give me an answer. It was an unknown number, and these were words, and it said unknown number. So it was like, this is weird, this. And then I put it in the quantifier, and then that's when I started seeing the results coming out. Then, because it was acting in a quantum manner, which is like, it's invisible to our naked eye, but it's a beautiful thing to learn.
Just as another point, just something else that stood out. I remember when David Windmill was talking about it. When they first started with the quantum grammar and put it down in correct sentence communication parsing, syntax, grammar, and was typing it into the computers blew up.
Yeah,
the computers blew up.
That's true. That I have had that same experience with a website developer called Wix. I was putting like the entire gold package, but writing it all down, and it was literally, I think it was like 48,000 words, maybe more. There was a lot in there anyway, and then all of a sudden I click save to save the page to then publish, and after I clicked save, the footer that's normally at the bottom ended up going all white, and it just stretched forever and ever and ever. And I said, I phoned the developing team up, and I said, can you please help me out here? He's got on the phone to the coding guys and said, we've never seen anything like this. There's over 34,000 errors of coding. The grammar literally recoded their own coding. It was incredible.
Sounds a bit matrixy to me.
Yeah. And it took them 4 days, the coders, to recorrect it and bring the footer up, and it was an incredible thing, experience-wise, anyway. Makes my hair standing up now. It's just
to bringing this back, Raz, how can we create joined with this one, Jason, with what we're talking about here, and how can we let's get this, you know?
Yeah, I was just about to give a little example then of why you don't need to fully understand this. So my part, and it's lucky you said Friday, because on the Monday we're gonna be having a baby on Monday, so it's great timing. But,
I know you're Friday, I'm out.
Yeah.
That's that one.
But yeah, I have on the website. It's like £25 for new beginners. But it's a 6 steps to success is what it is called. It's the title. It's a breeze. What it's called. She don't have a clue about syntax. Nothing at all. She don't know anything about it. Just little tiny bits, but not much anyway. I let her go on. I authorized her access to the course. She's done the 6 steps, took the test, completed the syntax test, and that's somebody who doesn't know the difference between an apple and an orange. Put it that way.
What's that? And that's on the Blue Thumb Club, is that?
Yeah. And that's what I'm just saying as an example. That's how things can. I have a lot of people saying, how can I give a document to somebody and they don't understand it? Well, this has proved they don't need to understand it, because if it's taught right in the right way, then you will understand it.
So I mean, the other thing. Yeah, the other thing would be another. I mean, if it could be designed, which was another thought in my head, was when people are writing down what they're writing down, if it could just be converted into, convert it into Greek, convert it into English, convert it into whatever, convert it into correct sentence structure, communication, parsing, syntax, grammar. It wouldn't be if you get. I mean, I don't think I mean, I take it probably would, but I wouldn't even think how it would be able to. But if that could be done, you know, that would.
Yeah, it can be done. There's an issue. There's a few issues with the Hebrew language and what is it? Slovakian. There's this because of the way words are like between male and female. They sound similar, but there's a bit of issues there. But I had a Slovakian translator who corrected it, put it back into the language, and then it come back as correct anyway. It was something like author is when the word claimant come back as authority sort of thing, in that sort of manner. But yeah, we work if there's any issues, I work closely with like a translator myself, just to develop that correctness, so they're not being misled. Like, even though I don't understand Slovakian, like I will just work closely so I know for a fact that they're working in correctness and there's no misleading interpretations of the language. Like, so, but just take up a lot of time sometimes, but it is what it is, just part of the job.
What you got to say, Baz? Have you got anything to?
I just want to know if Jason agrees. Can we agree that you do stand in one port and sometimes in the other? I know you're very strong on your field.
No, impossible.
So you don't like playing in both domains at once.
It's impossible. Right. So if you can stand in two ports at the same time, tell me how your human body can pass through a green light. How can two solid objects coexist in the same go through the same solid barrier? It's impossible. They're two different ports.
What's that got to do with me arguing with someone on a point of law?
Because you said, can you have 1 foot in A and 1 foot in B, and it's impossible.
All right. Okay. I will agree to disagree.
If you'd like to show me how you can be in two places at the same time, yeah, then I'll throw my hands up and I'll say I agree with you. Well done.
What about having 1 foot on the land, 1 foot on the water? Then what about more that sense? In that sense,
that all depends if you have mooring lines involved and you have documents to tie the vessel to the land. If you don't have no mooring lines, then you're basically lost at sea.
Or you're in a box.
In the box, the fictional box.
Yeah.
I kind of have resistance. The only people I really have resistance with is or cognitive resistance is people coming through common law channels, and they think they've stumbled on something, and then I was put in a group with like 20,000 people, and I caused bloody mayhem in there just by saying I disqualified the Magna Carta, and I showed them it, and I said to you, all right, look at the word escheat in the Magna Carta. What does it mean? And then they looked at what it means, and it just caused total chaos between everyone because they didn't like it and what that word means. And like the Magna Carta was designed specifically by people of the quantum nature who understood language and understood what the word, why change a sentence down into a word for that meaning of the word escheat, which gives the jurisdiction over to the state to take your property.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. It's incredible. But these are the people who claim common law and Magna Carta and my oath to the Baron. Well, if you swear your oath to the Baron who's sworn his oath to the King or whatever, then and you want to follow the terms and conditions of the Magna Carta, well, you're accepting the word escheat is jurisdiction of your property over to the state if they want it. To hell with that. I would never authorise that.
I look forward to a revisit on Friday. I've got to go, I'm afraid. I've got an appointment.
Interesting, though. Interesting, Jason. Very interesting.
I thought I just had it. I thought it out of me. I know. Well, it's not caused. It's food for thought, guys. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, if I came in a bit harsh, I'm apologetic. I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. A baby in a couple of days coming, and it's like, yeah, if I came harsh, then I'm sorry. Yeah.
Interesting,
This
isn't it?
is the language of quantum physics, then, by the sounds of things.
Yeah, if you
Language of the universe.
CSS CPSG, takes a long time to remember that, but yeah. Quantum grammar and a whole bunch of stuff comes up, or even if just my name, you'll see a ton of information. And and you'll probably end up, somebody come through somebody else's YouTube channel, ended up on an old website of mine, and somehow found himself on my current website teaching correct sentence structure. And this is the person I was on about before with the £8 HMRC fine. He's literally sending it. I think he's sending it off tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes.
Is the answer to try to escape the time quantum, to go into, you know, forever God or whatever it is, or the heaven, is to escape it?
It's basically it's math. I mean, because at the end of the day, yeah, for the whole world to understand, the whole world can understand maths. The whole world understands maths. Doesn't matter what the language has been changed with, the numbers all have the same meaning, yeah? So in numbers, the whole world, even though they're spelt differently, they all have the same meaning. But in words, yeah, is where it gets lost in translation. So basically what the quantum grammar did, or the correct sentence communication parsing syntax grammar did, with one word, one meaning, and it put it into a sentence structure so that it was mathematical. So it could be read forwards and backwards, and it meant exactly the same thing. It's just, it's English. It doesn't really matter what it's language. It can be translated into any different language. In fact, David's like, when he did it, it was translated into 5,000 different languages. But it still said, just like in numbers, it still said exactly the same thing, and there was nothing lost in translation across the board.
Wow.
And in that time, then you can have common law, or you can have common sense, because it will be common because it'll be across the board, in meaning the word common. You know, that in how I look at it.
What caused that to take place was in 1999, the United States Constitution came to an end. And at the same time, it was the presidential year, and they had no president for several days. And during that time period, the Title IV flag was about to be captured by the United Kingdom. But David Wynne Miller and Russell J. Gould, seeing this coming, they took the flag to the United Nations, had it registered, and they said, well, what land do you want to claim? All the land's taken up. So they said, well, we'll claim the land of the courtroom under correct sentence structure, communication, parsing syntax grammar. They had the syntax key and the maths to go with it under copyright. They then took that to weights and measures, and then registered the copyrights of the flag with weights and measures under the conditions or conveyance of the maths of the contracts through the court system, and thus disqualifying literally everything on the planet tenfold. And that's why you had the international banking crisis, where all the mortgages collapsed because of what David and Russell did. And that there was a president who was done for paedophilia, or was about to be done for paedophilia, and David was the one behind. David was his legal advisor who got him off with this under the conditions of he advised the president that if the judge doesn't, if you don't let me off with this crime, then I'm going to go public about the money being fiction, because everything's in a box and it's all wrote in capitalized text, which is not English. It's actually American Sign Language. So every time you see a capitalized word, if you believe that's English, then it goes back to the same thing of being deaf, dumb, stupid, and blind, because you can't see what you can't see until you then look up in the Chicago Manual of Styles, 16th edition. I think it's section 7.4.3, and it's ASL, which is American Sign Language. So this says to you that there's no one-to-one jurisdiction between capitalized text and normal case text English on the same document. And that's what the courts will have you believe. They'll write to you, or any document, they'll write to you in all uppercase, your postal location, like say Manchester, they'll always capitalize it. And then they'll go down into Dear Greaves or Dear John Smith, all capitalized, and then they'll go into normal English. So they're trying that, and what that's doing is breaking the continuation of the evidence throughout the document. So the breakage of the continuation of the evidence, you'll see this in courtrooms. You used to get a jury of 12, but you won't get a jury of 12. You'll get 2 rows of 6 on different planes of existence. And that's how they break the continuation of the evidence throughout the jury. So it doesn't make and that's when, so the judge can overrule that, can't he? The judge will take his own opinion. He doesn't have to agree with them. And that's why now he doesn't have to agree, because continuation is broken. So he can step in and add the continuation for himself to give the to basically give the command of his courtroom or his vessel. It's a dodgy thing and it needs to stop. And it's very hard to put a stop to it. But it's incredible when you start looking at the fine details.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah.
So, no, but the amount of tricks and deceptions, the tricks and traps within inside the actual system itself, not just the language, not just the fact they're talking different languages. You know, the four corner rule, the different planes, because the well of the court is a level playing field. The judge has got immunity because he's not actually in the plane. He's not on the level. So he believes he's got judicial immunity. That's why they get up and walk out. And you can't get them done outside because they was never in the court. That's what they'll say. You know?
And when I took tactical command and control of the Title IV flag on the 28th of July of 2020, disqualifying Russell J. Gould, it took to the 11th of October for the bodies, which was all MOD locations in the UK, the United Nations, the Universal Postal Union, the Pentagon, all these locations collaborated, and then they all went back to one position, which was the Postal Service, because the Postal Service dictates where your money goes. And if you ever, that's just hit. And you can see this if you go to the Royal Mint. Well, before the Royal Mint, when the Royal Mint prints their money, before the Royal Mint can hand deliver that to the bank, it has to go to a separate building, and it's a secret building, but it's in the Midlands, and it's one of the main postal branches, and it all has to be certified and registered. The tracking numbers on the postage notes have to be registered with the post office before the bank can have it. So that tells you that the postal service and the postal lanes have a higher authority than the bank. So that's why you have to go through FCA, Bank of England, Treasury, then Post Office as an authority. So it always comes down to authorization of conveyance of the post through whatever it is, whether it's contract or shipping or whatever it is. Even before military get deployed, they have to get their military deployment numbers from the post office and then come back. And it's the exact same as your driving licenses. If you take your I've not got it in here, but if you have a look at your driving license or provisional or even your passport, it does the exact same thing. It routes around to the post office, comes back to the building, the passport office, and then it's shipped out. And the code on the back of your driving license is at the bottom in a white box. That's the tracking code for that license, and it took a round trip before it's gone to you. And this is how if you're not aware of postal mechanics and the postal functions, then you'll never know unless you told it.
Somewhere before, I have to find out where I've read or seen a video of this somewhere before about the post office. I can't think where I've seen it.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing. Like the depth it goes when you go through, like the rabbit hole you fall down when you go down the postal routes. You just you're hitting wall after wall, but because you're doing it from a stance of correctness, you're smashing yourself through those brick walls. That they can't stop you because you're already at a point of authority, smashing all the way back down through all the rubble. See, people think the inner circles of secret organizations, they're tightly knitted in the middle, and you're on the outside. But this way, you're on the inside, and you're exploding. You're taking them all out with you. And that is the beauty of correct sentence structure or using the postal mechanics to do this. And timelines, it's so important to operate with the timelines, because if you don't, then you're opening it up for hearsay. And hearsay is a statement of events again. There's no facts involved. So if you just keep banging it on, I'm doing it all the time with these companies, and they're literally, I said Saturdays and Sundays under the postal rule of Adams v. Lindsell, acceptance occurs when you put it in the post box or when you put it in a post office. That's when acceptance occurs, not when they get it, when you send it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's called Adams v. Lindsell. And it's a very old law court ruling, but it still stands to this day.
How long does that go back to, Jason? Just a question. That Adams and Lindsay, you say? How long does that go back to?
Linzel, off the top of my head, I'm not sure. It might be the 1800s, maybe
So it explains.
early 1900s.
So it explains when there's a war.
It
When there's a
explains
war, the mail always gets through.
So what that court ruling did was it was about goods. So somebody made an offer, and then the person accepted the offer by letter, and they sent the letter off. But while that letter was in transport to the people who made them the offer of acceptance, they sold the goods to somebody else. So that's where the acceptance rule come in, that it was accepted now. Yeah, and it's always now time. Yeah,
Now.
so that was a court ruling by a judge who accepted that the now time scenario of acceptance exists.
Okay.
Not in the future or the past, now. Which is beautiful.
What if your post is intercepted?
That's a good question.
Intercepted by...
Well, the authorities. I mean, a lot of my post is intercepted.
If your post is intercepted, that should only be done by either a postal inspector or somebody just under me or myself. It shouldn't be. There is no way on this planet that post or postal workers or postal employees can be hindered in their travels. That is law. That is legislation. That's in a postal treaty. That's a treaty governing. I think it's 261 member nations of the Universal Postal Union.
I did some research on.
Where does the email come into it? A lot of contracts are now being signed
I'm very sorry, but I have to
online.
go.
Okay,
Emails the same thing.
Same thing as the postal service, part of the postal service.
That's correct. Yeah, because it's conveyance of communication. So the lines of communication are still being followed. So acceptance still occurs. Like if you say to me, do you want to buy a teller for £500? And I go, yeah, I'll buy this today for £500 at 3 o'clock. I've accepted your offer through my consideration. We have a contract in place, because the three basic principles of a contract is your offer, consideration, and acceptance. So that's why the acceptance.
There's a loophole there for fraud, isn't there? Because if it gets intercepted and emails don't get forwarded on, then there's an issue with
that's why
it's all open to manipulation, isn't it? Emails, the Royal Mail. There's a room full of mail goes missing every day. A room full of it every day.
But if you keep always do by post.
To the criminals with inside the post office, though, wouldn't it? They're stealing stuff, so that's now down to the post office to deal with whoever lost it. Because
that's why you have to send everything recorded, tracked. You have to send everything tracked.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
You also have to have a physical emails. Even you have to print things. I mean, I've had, loads and loads of documents on my hard drive that I've produced, court documents and so on. What they do is attack the computer using directed energy weapons, and then it goes wrong. You have to take it into PC World, and they don't. When they do the backup, they don't back up all the documents. They don't give you back.
But please try and never send communication by email, because the fee for the freight of the communication won't be paid for. Where if you do it by post, you're paying that fee for that freight to be delivered. And make sure it's always a £1 stamp, and then get certification of your postage, which is proof of the post office accepting your document, putting it in the system and sending it. Don't matter if they never get it, it's still been accepted at you still made the offer, or you still accepted.
Yeah,
and also even with tracked stuff, I've ordered things online with tracked, and you look online, it's just stuck. It's been sent by the by the seller, and there's no other information of where it's gone afterwards, and I've not received the items. So 3 items all ordered on the same day from 3 different companies, none of which arrived, and they're all tracked, and it's just stuck in the system. So somebody's destroying the communication channels somewhere along the line, and they're not forwarding the items. It's just all sorts of.
They not being-
The Royal Mail even steal the the parcels and put them into auction so they can have the proceeds of the auction. They lock up their own postmasters. They steal the post. They steal the parcels. When you say the post office, it's the Royal Mail, isn't it? The post office, parcel force. They've got so many different names. It's all the same company. They're all at it. It's riddled with corruption from top to bottom. It stinks.
It's corruption within everything, isn't it? I mean, that's about keeping it up.
Yes.
I mean, as for companies, I mean, when you've purchased it, you know, and they I mean, obviously they've got that money anyway. I mean, regardless, there's insurance. There's got to be some form of insurance. You know, if it doesn't go through, then the insurance has to pay it out, should pay it out. And the same vice versa. If the company sends you the product, but the product doesn't come through to you, they're insured. I mean, like on PayPal, yeah, there's certain things that you don't pay. You know, it covers if you don't get it.
When you realise it, once you wake up and you realise it. Now I'm realising because I'm actually 24/7. Even my dreams are infiltrated and things like that, but we will not have that conversation today. But once I realised, so suddenly it just reappears. So all the 3 items that didn't arrive, I got an automatic credit for it. So that took my mind off of that. And other things that seem to disappear, they reappear again as soon as my conscience is aware of it. So half the thing is you've got to be awake to know what's going on before you can actually do anything. But anyway, it's basically harassment. It's artificial intelligence harassment that's going on.
Interesting subject, but I look forward to Friday anyway.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to touch on, which was like my main reason for coming anyway, is I mentioned something. It was the lien thingy about or someone mentioned something about property or something like that. And there is a process, and it's called a domicile claim. If you want to take full ownership of your property or any land, then use a domicile claim, register it, send it to the property that you're claiming is yours. But it has to be correct sentence structure, by the way. That's the catch-22 there, and then have it all stamped and registered at the port authorities. Send it back to yourself, then go and attach that on the building outside your front door. But always, if you've got a back door and a front door, send her. And when the first one comes to your front door, yeah, and they're about to hand you the second one, the second document that you sent off at the same time, send the postman round the back and get him to hand deliver it at that door. That's what you need to do to secure the property under postal regulations. And then when you do that, it becomes a federal building, because all post office locations that are member states of the Universal Postal Union are federal buildings. Every single post office is a federal building if they're a member state. Yeah.
Oh, we have to go on another time. It's been on there a long time now. We've been on an hour and a half, and it's late at night. I can only absorb so much information, but it's a very interesting subject, Jason. Thanks ever so much for coming on. I didn't mean to be rude earlier on, but there you go.
So 6 o'clock Friday, yeah. 6 o'clock.
No,
if all being well, yeah. I'll send you the invite.
God willing, yeah.
God bless all.
Take care.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks very much, Jason. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you all.